let's get going. We are in the book, The Garden of Wisdom, by Rabbi Shalom Arush, which is, of course, his commentary on the story from Rabbi Nachman called the Chochom and the Tam, the sophisticate and the simpleton. And we're also, like we said, using mostly the commentary of Rav Nissen David Kivak, and also some other things from various other people. But we're going to get back into it today. We're starting on page 66 of this book, for those who are following along. And let's get going. Okay, I want to just start with one point that we finished with last time, that we saw from Rav Kivak, but we didn't. There's a special point from Rav Arush that we didn't quite get to yet. And it's like this, sweet point. Okay, so last time we said, where is the Chochom now in his journey over here? Is that he got to Varsha, right? The place of where he seeks, which references Varsha, var meaning in Yiddish truth, and shoyin meaning right away clarity. He needs to see what is happening in the world. He needs to know the hashgacha of Hashem. He needs to have that divine vision. He can't just accept what Hashem put in front of him. He always needs to see more. He always needs to see something else and be looking for the next thing. And where, right? He wants to have a much higher vision. So he gets to Varsha, and there he decides that he's going to get rid of his employers that took him that far, and he asks people around the shuk in Varsha, what's with these people that I was working for? And they say to him, you know what? Those are good people, and it would be good for you to stay with them. So it was like this. They answered that these people are decent, and it is good to be with them. However, it is difficult to be with them because their dealings are done over great distances. Right? So we said from Rav Kivak last time that one of the lessons we learned from this is that there's always something positive and something negative in every situation. There's always good and bad to look at in any situation and in any person. And the overwhelming derech, not the overwhelming derech, the derech of Rabbi Nachman is overwhelmingly positive. Is to always, like in so many ways, he talks about this, the importance of always looking for the good. Looking for the good in other people, looking for the good in yourself, looking for the good and the positive in the situations that you find yourself, right? But what did this person do? He focused, he chose to just focus on the negative. And he ignored the first half of the statement. The people said to him, these are good people, and you can do well with them, right? Just that there's an issue that you have to travel a little bit, right? And what did he do? He jumped a hold and grabbed a hold of that negativity. And like we said, sometimes for us all, but we all know there's certain people who are so negative, and they just, whatever situation they're in, they're always finding the negative. They're always grabbing hold of the negative. And it's so very, very important to try to get away from such behavior and to look for the positive. And we're going to see as we go through here derachim, ways in which we can do that. But if we don't do that, we're mamish going to be, our lives are going to be miserable, because we're always going to see the negative. So Rav Arush says like this, that so he decided to leave his previous employers. However, the clever one ignored two important details, namely that his employers were decent people and it was good to be with them. These were the details that should have been his main consideration. Imagine when we're looking to find people to work with, people to spend time with. Do you know how many business people there are out there in the world that are dishonest, that are mean, that are unpleasant to be around? Right? You have to work in an environment. It's so important that we work with honest people that we can trust, people that are good people. This should be the first concern that he had at that moment. And it's like he didn't even think about it. He said, this doesn't interest me. I see that there's going to be a problem here. I'm going to have to travel and forget it. So this is a big thing. So he says like this on page 67, a little farther down. He was honest and trustworthy. So he still had something good going for him. At this stage, the Chochom, the clever one, the sophisticate, he's still holding on to some of the good qualities of his youth. He was honest and trustworthy. So in a similar manner, Hashem put him in contact with honest people. Of course, the clever one failed to appreciate Hashem's loving divine providence. He didn't appreciate, he didn't see that Hashem was giving him a gift, that Hashem was guiding him and putting him together with good people. Hashem could have let the clever one become involved with dishonest, tyrannical, and crass employers, but instead he sent him decent, upright employers. Right? But still, he was going against the will of Hashem. But still, Hashem protected him at this point because of what he was doing. So he chose to look away and not to see where Hashem was putting him. The places Hashem was putting him. So what happens next? He went and saw men from the clothing business that were passing through the market in their fashionable style, with their various adornments, their hats and their sharp pointed shoes, and their other refinements, in the way that they walked and dressed. He had a sharp intellect, and this work appealed to him because it had chen. He says grace over here. I don't think that's the good translation. I think it should be charm. It was charming, right? So he looks and he sees these people working in the clothing industry, which is Gewelben in Yiddish, and he sees they're what? Shmata, yeah. He sees that they're dressed all fancy and they have these, they're wearing the latest styles and fancy colors and clothing. Pointy shoes is a big thing in this book for some reason. Pointy shoes, seems to be a style nowadays a little bit also. Pointy shoes, fancy hats, and everything, right? And he sees them and he's attracted to them. And I think we can see some simple aspects that make sense to us, but we'll also see some deeper stuff. Let's see what Rav Arush says, and then we'll see Rav Kivak. Rav Arush says like this: as soon as he sees the haberdashery employees, haberdashery is hat makers, by the way, and their chic style, he is impressed. But he doesn't ask if Hashem is impressed. This is the direction Rav Arush is going. He sees this excites him and it impresses him, but he doesn't stop to think: is this something that Hashem wants me to be doing? Is this something that Hashem wants me to be interested in? Right? So Rabbi Nachman says, it's so funny in the story. He says, in this particular point of the story, he had a sharp intellect, and this work appealed to him because it had chen, charm. So Rav Arush points out that Rabbi Nachman is mocking him right now. This is where he's using his smart intellect. This is where his intellect is taking him. That he looks and he sees some fancy dressed people with their pointy shoes, and he's drawn after them. What happened to his intellect? What happened to his brain, to his smarts? Again, he is ridiculing the clever one. If he was so smart, why was he so easily impressed by external appearances? This is what Shlomo HaMelech calls, like we say in Eshes Chayil every Friday night, Sheker HaChein veHevel HaYofi, the lie of prettiness and the vanity of outer beauty. Okay. It's sheker. What's he pulled after? He has an opportunity. Hashem sets him up with honest, good people that he can stay and do a business with, and profit and make money and start his life. And what does he do? He's drawn after his eyes these crazy guys with pointy shoes. Sheker achein vehevel hayofi. Right? This is his big intellect. Right? But he says also, and now he changes things around a bit, and he says, but this is something that's done in a person's own area, meaning he doesn't have to travel. Okay, so he decided that it was a bad idea that he should have to travel. Rav Arush goes into something over here that is very interesting to me, because I feel like it very much depends on the person. But he says that the consideration of working close to home is important, but it shouldn't be the determining factor in deciding someone's purpose in life. Meaning, working close to home, staying close to where you are is good and it's important. But sometimes Hashem wants us to move somewhere, wants us to go away. Shmuel HaNavi, Samuel the prophet, would go from village to village to spiritually uplift the people of Israel. We hear, by the way, it doesn't say over here, but we know that some of the early Hasidim, it was known specifically that the Noam Elimelech, whose Yahrzeit was last week, and his brother Reb Zusha, would dress up in like beggar's clothing, and they would go from town to town. They would go on these big travels. It's also interesting, so interesting, that there's many stories of like the Baal Shem Tov, where they would like, all of a sudden the Baal Shem Tov would say to his followers, "Get in the wagon, we're going." And they never knew what was happening and why, but wherever they went, there was some miraculous event that took place over there, and they had to be there at that specific time. One of my favorite stories, I'm not going to tell it now because I've told it many times and it's long, right? But the Baal Shem Tov would just be like, okay, something spiritual pulls me over here, something needs to happen over here, we're going. And they would go. Meaning what? I believe that the essence of the point that he's saying over here is, it's great to say there's a positivity to staying close to home and to being in one place. But the main point is not that I feel I should stay in this place. The main point is that I'm gonna always try to do what Hashem wants me to do, and to go where Hashem wants me to go. I hope it would be nice if it's here, but I have to be ready to say when Hashem calls me to go somewhere else, I have to be ready to go there. I have to be ready to move when the time is right. Right? We have a friend who in the shul over here who has been thinking about making Aliyah for many, many years, and finally just this past week he got up and went on Nefesh B'Nefesh and moved to Eretz Yisrael. Just like that, you know. It's, yeah. You know, there's, maybe we have to change neighborhoods, maybe we have to move closer to people that we care about, maybe family, friends, whatever it might be. Who knows? But Hashem has a plan for us. The main thing is that we should be open to and thinking about, where does Hashem want me to go? What does Hashem want from me? Not just where is it easier for me? Where is my most comfort found in, right? One of the words we're going to see in Rav Kivak a lot is the word of yigia, which means my effort, my work, the thing that I put into things. And it's going to have something to do with this, I think. So, he says over here, a little farther down on page 68, he says, we see what happens when the clever one follows his own desires rather than incorporate Emuna into his considerations. An outer facade can only fool a person who doesn't seek Hashem's guidance. However, when a person searches for what Hashem wants, he discovers a marvelous path, despite whatever difficulties he may encounter along the way. So, meaning, we're going to see things like this in our lives. We're going to see things, and we're going to be attracted to certain things, and it's going to happen, right? If we don't have Emuna, and if we're not thinking in this way of what does Hashem have in mind for me, what is Ratzon Hashem, what's the will of Hashem, then I'm very easily pulled onto a different path, right? But if I'm able to step back, and if I'm able to do my hisbodedus, to think and to contemplate and to talk to Hashem, then when I see such a thing, I'll be able to step back and say, okay, what is the meaning of this? Is this good for me? Is this not good for me? Should I follow this? Should I not follow this? In a much easier way. Right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll read this last little part here, and then we'll move on to Rav Kivak also. He returned to the people he had come with, gave them his respects, and told them that he did not desire to be with them further. And as for their having brought him here, he had served them along the way. Meaning, okay, they paid for him to come, they helped him out to get him here. So how can he just leave them hanging? He says, okay, he worked for them along the way. He did his part, so he doesn't have to feel bad about this. So we see, Rav Arush says, we see here that the clever one had not yet become corrupt. This is page 69. He thanked the tradesman who brought him to Warsaw and spoke in a polite and civil manner. So, what's one of the main things that Rav Arush points out to us here? Is that we see that he had the tools of a naturally good character with which he could have succeeded. Had he chosen to try and follow the path of Tamimus instead of this path of quote-unquote Chochma, he had the chomer, he had the base characteristics that he needed in order to be successful. Right? He wasn't a terrible person. He wasn't mean. He wasn't angry. Yeah? And another point that he makes over here, Rav Arush, as he says, we see that in this stage of the game, you can see he was still a good person, and he still had some good characteristics, because he waited till he had another opportunity before he left his previous opportunity, right? A person who is too drawn after emotion and is too negatively spontaneous, right? Is the person that will just stand up and be like, I quit, that's it, right? That's a person who's not in control of their emotions and of their psyche, and they can't hold it back. So that's it, I'm out of here, I quit, without anything set up. This person still was using his mind and was still in control enough that he was able to go and find something first and then go back to the people and, like a mensch, say, it's time for me to leave, thank you very much for everything, and move on, right? Okay. So we see he's at a funny stage, the Chochom, at this point. So let's see where Rav Kivak takes this now. So he says we're holding now by the second big mistake of the Chochom. He says Ataras Hasheni hu nefilasoi lachein shel sheker. Just like we said, the second big mistake of the Chochom now is that he fell into this thing called chen shel sheker, which means the charm and vanity, false charm and vanity, right? And so what happens? What happens to him once again? Ad shebesoif nimas like kol esek hamalacha. What's going to happen over here is that he we didn't see it yet, but as soon as he starts working in the clothing industry, the first thing that happens is he starts to see that he has to often climb up many stairs to go to the house of different people, and he has to unfold the fabric and everything and hold them out in his hand and hold them up for people to see for a long period of time so they can look at them. And he starts to say, oh, this is too hard, this work is too hard for me, right? Why is it, what happened to him? He's not this person, right? He says over here, let's go back to Rav Arush for a second, page 70. When he went and started to work for one of the merchants, and it is the way of hired servants that in the beginning they need to work for little pay and do strenuous tasks. Then afterwards they reach the level of established servants. His employer gave him hard work, and he would send him to customers bearing merchandise as is customary for servants. They need to hold their arms upraised, draping the garments along their arms' length for the customers to see. This work is very difficult for him to bear. Sometimes he would need to climb up many flights with his load, and the work was very hard for him, so he contemplated, for he was a highly intelligent philosopher. Why should I do work like this? Once again, Rabbi Nachman is mocking him, saying, this is the thoughts of a highly intelligent philosopher, of someone with a brilliant intellect. What happened to this guy? He's afraid of a little hard work? Lifting garments up with his hands? All of a sudden, he doesn't want to do anything anymore. He doesn't want to work anymore. Right? So this is what Rav Kivak is saying, and Rav Arush has a brilliant statement over here. But Rav Kivak is saying, Ad shebesoif nimas like kol hamalacha, kol esek hamalacha. Right? He gets drawn into sheker achein, into the false beauty and false vanity, to such an extent that all of a sudden he doesn't have the desire to work anymore. He doesn't have the desire to put in his effort. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Rav Arush says like this: what's going on with this guy? Is he so smart? If haberdashery was his mission in life, then why wasn't he patient? What's he doing? What's he thinking about? This is page 70 at the bottom. Why was he disheartened by a little bit of discomfort and hard work? If he's doing something that's taking him on his mission, that's literally, bringing him to the next level, taking him to the place where he wants to be. He's worried about climbing up some stairs and holding out garments, right? This is my life's purpose? I should be ecstatic. And if it wasn't his life's purpose, then why did he leave the other job with nice people and good people to come to this sheker achein crazy kind of place, right? He's not using his chachma. He's not using his brain in the right way. He's only following whatever comes to his mind, whatever comes into his chachma in the moment, as opposed to what? As opposed to trying to figure out, what does Hashem want from me? Where is Hashem placing me? What does Hashem put in front of me right now? Where is Hashem guiding me? This is what he should be looking for. And what's he doing? Crazy stuff. Mamish crazy stuff. Right? Yeah? So, Rav Arush begins to speak about an important point over here, and he says, the fact that the clever one's eyes and urges overruled his brain led him to confusion, disorientation, and mistakes. What he starts to do is focus on the external rather than on the internal. The Tam is a person of his Baidadus. The Tam is a person that thinks about what does Hashem want from me. He's thinking in his inner world, and he's thinking where he is right now. The Chochom is all over the place. He sees something over here, he follows it. He sees something over here that's better than that, he leaves that thing and goes to the next thing. It's all external as opposed to internal, is one of the main differences over here. So, in the same realm, Rav Kivak says like this, V'chol zeh meramez le'inyan hayegiyos b'toru tefila b'devarim shetzarech l'sageya l'shaber hayetzer. This is all hinting to, it works in the practical realm and it works in the story, but it's also all hinting to our own avodas Hashem in Torah and tefillah, learning and in prayer. In what way? That it's the yigiyah, the effort that we have to put into in our Torah learning and in our tefillah, in our prayer, that it's that aspect, that thing that we're doing that breaks our Yetzer Hara, that allows us to be able to be free from those things that pull us in the directions we don't want to be. Mis'atzel mihayegia. It's through these types of chachmas, these types of wisdoms, of false intellects, that we become lazy from doing work. Kirak asuk lachkor im hitzliach eloi. Because we're only busy. It's so funny. I talked to someone today who's going through this exact thing. He's spending the whole entire day. He's thinking, he's talking, he's trying to figure out if I should do this, and how much money is going to come if I do this, and if I do this and I do that, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Am I going to be successful? Am I going to be? And one of the pieces of advice I gave him, I said, just stop, and see if any one of these things that you're doing comes to fruition, if they're actually going to hire you over here, if they're going to do it, because he's just going crazy. He's just thinking, am I going to be successful? Am I going to be successful? Am I going to be successful? How much is I going to make? How much am I going to make? And he's losing his mind. Just step back. I would say do something good. and see, wait for the answer first. Wait to see if it works out. Then you can start thinking if I should do it or not. But it's in the realm of theory, this poor person, it's so hard. Right? So he's saying something very, very important, very special over here, and it's this. It's so important. If you remember, this is one of the big klalim in this whole thing, is that he said it's the work of simplicity, the work of tamimus, not thinking that I'm above doing simple things, simple avodas Hashem, not thinking that those things are beneath me, that when I begin to do those simple good things regularly, not only is it okay, but it's by doing that I'm actually going to elevate myself to higher and higher levels. And as we're going to see in the end of the story, the Tam is going to become a real Chochom, a real wise person. And he's going to become a ruler of a city and a brilliant person who knows all the stuff that the Chochom should have known. Right? Why? Because he just kept working where Hashem put him, on simple, normal, good things that Hashem gave him, right? And the Chochom never touches those things, and as a result, is never able to move. He's just always thinking and always wanting the next big thing. So that's where he finds himself. So that's our effort over here. We cannot. We have to understand the importance of simple, good mitzvahs. Davening every day, praying. If you're a man, going to minyan. Right? Learning simple halacha. Oh no, I only want to learn the most deepest Kabbalistic enlightenment-causing ideas. No. Rabbi Nachman says, every single day, simple halacha. What does the Jewish law tell me I should do? right? There's lots to learn. Every day, that's it. Simple. Go to Minyan, learn halacha, study Torah. If your mind isn't so brilliant and you can't study the deepest things, so whatever you can study, whatever works for you, study it. Just do it. Someone needs some help, go give them a hand. Remember, what are my things I keep saying? Call your mother, call your father, call someone who's lonely, right? Go volunteer somewhere. So many things to do, so many good things to do. Right? And those simple things, if we engage in them and do them regularly, we're just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up and up. That's the word. Okay, so he goes on to say, let's say that the Chochom really was meant to be in the fancy clothing industry. So Rav Kivak says like this: if he was supposed to be like this, Hayamevin. And he would have understood that there's a way that Hashem wants us to move in the world, and Hashem knows what's happening, and He puts us into the places where we're gonna encounter those sparks of holiness that we have to elevate and redeem. Right? So he could have, if he would have actually been drawn there, he would have been on the path that Hashem would have placed him on. And Hashem knows where he's supposed to be, and where he's supposed to be at what time, and through. If he would be Asher Yedei Asaka Sham Be'Emuna, and he would have been going wherever Hashem put him. He would have been elevating those things there and making tikkunim, fixing the world in the place that Hashem put him. Right? Every place he would be. Samach, and this is the way the Tam lives. He's happy. He becomes excited and happy. B'chol pruta shemarviach, with every bit of profit that he makes. Right? Meaning like this. It's a little bit confusing. Aval hachacham eino roya es hashleimus shebe'inyan ela es hachitzonius hachein. Right? He's saying like this: if be'emes that the chacham was really drawn to, Hashem was really trying to put him in the place of working in the clothing industry, the pointy shoe industry, right? And he would have been thinking in this way, and he would have been following the path. Then he would be able to, every step of the way, he would understand that every step of the way that Hashem puts him, there's something there that he's supposed to be doing. He's meant to be there. And he's going to interact with one person here, and by having that interaction, they're going to make some type of tikkun. Right? He's going to be honest in business over there, and he's going to cause all these tikkunim to happen, and he's going to cause the sparks of holiness to be elevated and redeemed every step of the way. If he's just realizing that he's following where Hashem put him. And then he would be like the Tam. What does the Tam do in his avodah that he's doing? He's the shoemaker. But you know what? Every single bit of money that he makes, he's has tremendous simcha. Why? Because he's living his life in the way that Hashem wants him to live it. So every pruta he makes, every coin that he gets from selling his shoes, it's as if Hashem put that into his hand. Say, this is exactly where I want you to be. This money is exactly meant for you. Right? Someone who doesn't live like this and who tries to like steal money here and there, even if it's not the kind of stealing that we think about, but if they see they can overcharge somebody, so they're sneaky and they try to make money when they really shouldn't be. That money's not meant for them. Hashem doesn't want them to have that money, and you know what's going to happen? He's going to take it away. Yeah, it's not meant for you. Hashem doesn't want you to have that. The Gemara says that by the tzaddikim, their mamonim shel tzaddikim chavev alehem. The money of tzaddikim is very precious to them. And everybody asks the question, that doesn't sound right. It should be, that a big tzaddik, he's very humble, and he doesn't need a lot, so he shouldn't care about money. He should give it out to whoever needs. I don't need my money. I don't care what about my money. He should not be stingy, right? We see the opposite. Why? Because someone who's really living in that way, who knows that they're making every effort to live according to the way Hashem wants them to live, then they know that every bit of money that comes to me is from Hashem to my hand, and it's meant for me, and I'm supposed to do something with it. That has come to me for a reason. Now I'm supposed to do something with it. Now when someone comes to the door and they need to give tzedakah, right, and they look to see, is this person a fake? There's a lot of fakes out there. I have to make sure that I'm giving it in the right way, because Because everything that comes to me is like straight from Hashem's hand to mine. It's so precious. And now I have to do it this way. Rav Nachman says in Torah Nun Dalet, I think, Torah 54, that every item in the world has a place and a time. And this is an unbelievable, beautiful idea. And that a certain item is given to a person. And it's meant for that person. Why? Because they're supposed to do something with it. Something is supposed to happen. Any item that comes into your purvey, into your possession, is meant for you. If you're living like the Tam, Hashem gave this to me for a reason. What am I supposed to do with it? Right? I believe this is why you see a lot of old school Yidden are very, very, very careful. They don't want to throw things out. They don't want to waste. They don't like everything that I have to do something with this, right? And he says that sometimes you have an object, and a certain person has used it, and for whatever reason they feel like they don't need it anymore, and so they give it to someone else, or they sell it to someone else, and it comes into someone else's purvey. Why? Because that person finished with it. They did what they were supposed to do with it, and now it goes to the next person. And maybe that same thing will come back to the first person. Why? Because they weren't ready to do what needed to be done with it yet. So it went on to someone else, that some sparks of holiness should be redeemed from it. And now they grew, and they became a higher level person. Now when that thing comes back to them, now they're ready to do what needs to be done with it. We should write a story about this, a fictional story about this. This is good. I think Moshe told me, Moshe Hershkovitz, who's on right now, that one of Rabbi Nachman's stories is like this. But okay, we'll find it. Anyway, I'm getting on a bit of a tangent over here, right? but this is the idea, that if you're living your life in a way that everything you do, you're trying to do Ratzon Hashem, then every moment is important, and everything that comes into your hands is important. Every little bit of profit you make, even if you're not a millionaire, but every paycheck that you get is sweet, and it's simcha, because it's Hashem putting right into your hand what you're supposed to have. Amazing, right? Totally amazing. So this is the Tam. So too, okay, that's in the story. But what in the realm of avodas Hashem, we have to put effort in. We have to work in our serving Hashem. Avodas Hashem, l'Torah, tefillah. Once again, u'shviras hayetzer. Once again, it's these things that we do that are going to break our Yetzer Hara and bring us up to that next level. Shatam misyageya kefi yacholtai ki yodei Hashem yisbarach yesh lei nachas ruach mima shmisyageya yeh kama sheyeh. The Tam, this is so awesome. The Tam is happy, and he works. He puts in effort in whatever he's doing in his avodas Hashem. Right? And why is he so happy? Because he knows that Hashem is happy with whatever he's doing when he's trying to serve Hashem. Meaning, we can all, I'm sure everyone can think of an example in their own life. But you may have someone, let's use the Daf Yomi example again. Right? It can go many ways. Daf Yomi is this custom that we have to learn one whole page of Talmud, of Gemara, every single day. It takes approximately 7 years to finish the whole Talmud when you do this. On both sides of the story, there's reasons why people don't learn anything. Why? I'll tell you like this. So one person will say, if I'm going to learn Daf Yomi, I'm not going to understand anything. Right? Like, it's really a whole page of Gemara in a 45-minute class is like, I don't do it for this reason. I still learn. I just don't do this type of learning. I can't do it. In like real yeshiva and kollel, especially in like the Litvish kind of brisker way of learning, you spend months on like 1/2 page of Gemara in depth, really understanding it deeply. Okay, these are both good things to do. Daf Yomi is a good thing to do. This type of yeshivish learning is a good thing to do. But if you look at it and you say, "Oh, if I do that, I'm just not going to learn anything," right? So I'm not going to, I'm just not doing it. But you don't have something else to do. You don't do anything else, right? So you're looking at that and saying, "Oh, if I can't get to the knowledge that I need to have from learning this 1 page a day, it's not worth it," right? Whereas the Tam would say, "Okay, I'm not gonna know that whole thing perfectly. But I'm still going to do it. And Hashem's going to be happy with me learning that one page. And whenever I do understand properly, and that thing is great. So at the end of 7 years, the guy who looked at it and said, I'm not going to bother because it's not for me. I won't really understand the whole thing. What did he do at the end of 7 years? Nothing. He didn't do anything. He finished nothing. This guy finished the whole entire Talmud to whatever extent he did. And it doesn't matter. He did his part on his level. Right? That's from one side. The other side is to say, I'm too smart. I'm not the type of guy who should learn through it on this simple level. Not because I'm worried I won't get it, but because I need to put my time, I need to use my big brain to really uncover the deep, deep parts of it. Right? Which is, once again, it's okay if you actually do it. But it's also a way to separate yourself from that work, to wash your hands of it, and then not do anything. Both of these two guys end up not doing anything. Either I'm too smart, or I'm not smart enough for Daf Yomi. And at the end of 7 years, nothing. They didn't accomplish anything. And the Tam is like a Talmud Chochom now. Right? He, mamash, went up in levels. But that simple avoida, that learning that he did, knocked out his Yetzer Hara. Right? Built him up to multiple new levels through that 7 years. This is the idea he's saying over here. I think that's an awesome point. So we shouldn't be embarrassed. Whatever we could learn, whatever we find ourselves, our ability, the people we're put in contact with, just do it. Just keep learning. Awesome. Yep. אבל על ידי זה נמשך הרחבה כשנסעלין הניצוצות הקדושה ונעלה החיים דקדושה. And what happens every step of the way, every day, he's elevating nitzot, sparks of holiness, every single day, when he's doing the good work. Okay, so the next thing he says is just a quick idea before we move on to the next awesome point. But he says, we see that one of the things that, remember, Rav Kivak focuses on the words very carefully. He says, we see that what are the two things that he noticed about the fancy clothes guys? About the fancy guys? The hats and the shoes. Right? So he says, it's these two aspects that can really trip us up. The mochin, the brain, the intellect, and the shoes represent action. Right? So this is where the pagam comes with this poor Chochom. His intellect is being used improperly. He's not using that big brain that he has. Rather, he's being pulled here and pulled there. He's not using it to understand what Hashem wants him to do now, right? And so what happens? He also doesn't end up doing the actions. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do the work that he's supposed to be doing. So he doesn't have the intellect, the hats, fancy hats, and he doesn't have the actions of the fancy shoes. He's got nothing in the end. Yeah. What'd you say?
Stuck.
He's stuck. Okay. The next point, I have another English tagline for this one, right? So let's see where it comes. He says like this: What if the Tam went to Varsha? What if the Tam was the guy who saw the people going, and he was drawn in? He keeps using this word. It was Nikla, if he was sort of drawn in to going in this way. What if the Tam realized that Hashem is leading him with these wagon guys, right, to Warsaw, and he would work with them in their business? He says, Sof hakol b'hashgacha pratis. He would have said, "This is where Hashem's leading me. I'm following Hashem." Hashem isbarach levada manhig esa chamatis. He would say, not like the other guy, who saw the canopy. Remember, the canopy represented Hashem in the world and how Hashem runs everything. Hashgacha pratis, and he didn't see that. He just saw the fancy canopy. The Tam would see Hashem. He'd say, "Oh, of course, I see a canopy coming. You know what? Reminds me that Hashem runs the whole world through the stars and the planets and everything. Oh, and there's 4 horses leading this thing. It's because Hashem leads the 4 worlds and He makes everything happen. It's all Hashem." He would have said. Mazel shah. Right? Everything goes through the divine chariot. That's what he would have thought when he saw the chariot, the wagon. V'chupas hamakifin she'aleh, shekein hu derech ha'emes. Laseis la'Hashem yisborach lahanhig oisoi kirtzoinoi. This is the one. This is the derech emes. This is the true path, is to allow Hashem to lead you in according to His will. Right? So the phrase that's coming to my mind is, it's like we're going through life and we're kind of dancing. We're dancing through life with Hashem. Right? But we gotta let Hashem lead. We have to let Hashem lead. Right? What can happen? And we talked about this in a few different times before. Sometimes we get in our heads, we're even trying to be holy, but we tell Hashem how it's supposed to be. Remember, we were talking about His providence in the past, and we were saying how it's possible that someone can daven, talk to Hashem for years, and never get unstuck from where they're at. Right? And one of the biggest problems can be if the whole time when we're davening, talking to Hashem, we're spending the whole time telling Hashem what He's doing wrong. Hashem, you must do this. Hashem, you must do this. Right? I really need this. Make this happen. Make this happen. Right? There is such a thing to ask Hashem for things, but in the right way. I remember seeing in one of the English Breslev books about his providence, he said that a person should always phrase all of their tefillos to Hashem in the way that, Hashem, if it's good and right for me, then, please help me with this thing. Well, it should always be in our mind, to the extent where you shouldn't even have to say it, right? But it has to always be the way we think. Hashem, where are you leading me? Where am I supposed to go? I don't know, right? Who knows where I would be if I was leaving out myself on a wagon to Warsaw, like with the pointy-toed shoe people. Right? So this is it. Let Hashem lead. Don't tell Hashem the way it's supposed to be. Ask Hashem to help me understand. Ask Hashem to guide me on the way. Right? Be open to hearing from other people. Be open to seeing Hashem in the world and to going in the right way. Be like pliable instead of rigid. Right? Flexible instead of stiff. Where's Hashem going to take me? What's he gonna have me do? Right? A couple of weeks ago, there was a death in the community. Right? I'm sure you guys all remember. And it was a busy time. It was literally the day before Purim, and we're planning a Suda in the shul. We have to get all the food, all the shalach manas, to find the person Megillah. Like, there's so much to do to prepare for Purim, and it's the day before Purim, and I get this call in the morning that this person passed away, and I'm like, oh my gosh, isn't there someone else you can call? This is what's going through my mind. Like, seriously, do you know how much I have to do today? It can't be. Where? But what did I have to say in the end? I mean, this is all in my head, not to the person who called. But in the end, I just have to say, okay, I guess this is what Hashem wants. I just have to go and do this funeral, and then we'll see what happens. I guess I'll see what the rest of the day has. Hashem will make things happen. We'll have a Suda. Everything will come together. Maybe it won't be exactly the way I'd planned, but obviously I don't get to plan the way things are supposed to be. And Hashem is planning exactly how things are supposed to be. And that's the way it went. So it's just a little example that I experienced recently where I had to think like this, and I had to catch myself and say, it's so clear. Hashem's putting something into your lap that you're supposed to do right now. Don't you decide to tell Hashem, yeah, it's not the right time. I have other stuff to do, Hashem. Right? It's very obvious. So this is another idea. You with me, guys? Yeah. Good. This is good advice he's giving us. Okay, next. Harishis nefilas Chochom. What's the first place that the Chochom falls over here? This we've said a few times now, but he's bringing it back. That the beginning of the fall of the Chochom, of the descent of the Chochom, is that he doesn't do anything practically. Rather, he's only lachkor. He's only looking and figuring out. Choker is also the word for like research. He's doing all the research. He's trying to decide and figure out what's the best thing to do. But in the meantime, he doesn't do anything. He wants to understand first everything before he does anything. And he says, "Ve'eno yedea shetzarich lasos ve'achar kach lahavin." He doesn't know that really what you have to do is you have to do, and then hopefully you'll understand. Right? V'chein b'avodas Hashem. This is going to be painful to some of us, me in particular. But let's see who else. V'chein b'avodas Hashem. Ikar tzaras hanefesh. When we're talking about our avodas Hashem, the main tzaras hanefesh, the main pain to our soul, right? Causes us pain. Shemadichim ha'inyan lamachar ve'ino ese achshav. That we push something off to tomorrow and we don't do it now. This is, of course, the what's the word I'm looking for? It's procrastination, but it's like the stumbling block. It's the negative midah of procrastination. Hatam yodea sh'Hashem nasan li hayom lachyos lichyos. Hashem put me here today to live. Right now, today. Yesh li ma laharviach hayom. There's something for me to do good today, right now. To gain, right. There's something for me to gain here. Something I'm supposed to do here, right now. Chochom adayin be'emtza lachor be'ezei derech avoda leleches im moichin or midos. And the Chochom is still sitting. It's like the Tam. Imagine like the race of the turtle and the rabbit, the hare and the tortoise, right? And the turtle is slow and steady, and the rabbit is he's running all over the place, and he waits and he waits and he waits because he knows he's going to get to the end quickly. So similar story, but in this one the rabbit's a Chochom, and he's not just an egotistical maniac, right? So the turtle starts off, and that's the Tam, and he says, "Oh, Hashem wants me to go. I'm going to go," and he starts moving and he starts doing. And he's on the path. Why? Because he knows that today, right now, every step along my journey, there's something for me, something that Hashem's giving to me, and I need to do it today, where I am right now. Right? This is what the Chochom does. The Tam does. He's the tortoise in this weird story that I'm just making up as I go right now. And the hare, the rabbit, who's usually just egotistical and thinking he can win in the end. He's not. In this story, the rabbit is the Chochom. And he's standing at the beginning of the race, and all he's doing is planning and thinking, oh, wait a second, well, if I go this way, what if I go and, maybe I should first get some special kind of shoes, maybe I should plan to have, a team with me, maybe, you know what I need to do? I need to get a pit team. Halfway over, they can give me water, and they can do, and he's planning the whole thing, and he's the whole thing, he's just thinking and planning and being choker, researching, what am I going to do? And he doesn't leave the start line. So the Tam goes, and what is he doing? The Tam is living. He's living his life. And everywhere he goes, he knows Hashem put him there. And he's doing what he's supposed to be doing at every step along the way. And this guy ends up doing nothing. Nothing. There's a lot of examples we could bring for this. But this is a good one. Don't delay good things. Today, Hashem gave it to us today, right? So there's an interesting inyan in prayer, in tefillah, something that the Arizal brings down. It's along the same lines over here, where he asks a good question that many of us might have asked in the past, which is, are you sure I'm supposed to say the same exact tefillah 3 times a day, every day, for my whole life? Right? We might have asked this question. There's many beautiful ways to understand this. That it's that the beauty of tefillah and of the Shemona Esrei and whatnot. There's multiple things we could say. But one of the things that the Rizal says is hold on. The shacharis, the morning prayer that you say today, don't make the mistake of thinking that that's the same one as tomorrow. It's a totally different existence. Just imagine how Hashem created. He doesn't say this, I'm illustrating with this. Imagine how Hashem created the entire universe. and how every day there's a different moon, and the constellations are slightly different, and every day there's a different hashpah, a different divine energy coming into the world, and at every moment it changes, and something new is divinely implanted into the world, right? So that prayer that I say this morning, it may be the same words, but the whole universe is different. I'm different, right? Everything's different, and it's a completely different time. It's a completely different opportunity. So I shouldn't think that whatever Hashem put in front of me, I have the desire to maybe say, the temptation to say, ugh, the same thing again. I got to go to shul again. Got to go to minyan again for the same thing, right? I've done. I don't need to do this, right? It's not for me. Hashem gave you this. He put you here, and it's different, and it's special, and it's important right now, right? Awesome idea. Where are we holding? Okay, we got a bit more time. So he says something really awesome now. Think about where we are in the lives of the Chochom and the Tam, and where they are in the story. He says now, Nimtza Olam Hafuch. We see now that the world is upside down. The world is upside down. Why? Ki hatam hisnaig kamoy soicher hamevin shetzarich laharviach. Because the Tam now is a businessman, and he's working in his business in order to make money, to profit. Right? It looks like he's the guy who's trying to be a business person, right? Umeidach Chochom samach al hashgachas Hashem lisuo lachapes la'an Hashem isbarach yelicho. And it looks like now that the Chochom is actually looking for, he's relying on Hashem's hashgacha pratis. He's relying on Hashem to take him where he's supposed to go next, right? And to travel and to find where he's supposed to be. Everything is from Hashem. This is what it looks like. But it's not like that. Why? You hear the question? How it's upside down a little bit? It looks like the Chochom from the outside is being like, where is Hashem going to take me? Where's Hashem going to lead me? I don't know if I should be here. I'm just following where the wind is going to blow me next, right? And it looks like, on the other hand, that the Chochom is like, I'm staying here. I don't want to know where the wind's going to take me, where Hashem's going to take me next. I'm just staying here. You could look at it from this perspective and think that they're doing the opposite. But really, the Tam is humble enough to say, Hashem put me here. He gave me this. This is where Hashem wants me right now. This is where I'm supposed to be. And even though the Chochom, he might look as if he's just trying to follow where he's supposed to go, the problem is that it's all only his own mind and desires. He's only looking, like we said, for chitzonius. He's attracted to the looks of things, and he's never asking, where does Hashem want me to be? He's ignoring the gifts that Hashem gives him of these nice people he could work with and whatnot. It's all just in his own mind. So it looks like it could be the opposite, but really, it's like we're saying. So I wrote down here that the way to understand this in maybe one quick sentence is that the hashgacha pratis, that's the divine providence, right? The hashgacha pratis is now. It's not what I want to see in the future. Hashgacha pratis is now. Where's Hashem going to lead me? What do you mean, where's Hashem going to lead me? Hashem is leading you right now, wherever you are. Hashem put you exactly this moment, right here, right now. Hashgacha pratis doesn't mean, maybe I'm going to see a hint and Hashem's going to put me, forget it. Hashgacha pratis is where you are right now. And in an hour from now, that's going to also be hashgacha pratis, wherever you are. And tomorrow morning, it's going to be the same thing. Sometimes we have this desire, because we have this thing, right? It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing, and we all like to do it, where we like to tell hashgacha pratis stories, right? Where we had something and we were, involved, and some miracle happens, and just at the right time, the right person came, and you met, and right, and it was fantastic, and right, got a lot of stories like this. One I haven't told in a long time, maybe I never told it to you guys, I don't know, is you'll tell me if I told it. It's a good story though. We were one time in Mexico on a vacation. Remember, did I tell you this one? Yeah. And it's Friday, and we need to get challah, and we thought we had a plan, but the plan didn't work out. And we're in a town called Puerto Morelos. It's a little fishing town. There's like nothing around there, no Jews, no nothing. It's a long time ago also. There wasn't so much Chabad there or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go out and try and find some bread, or I'm going to buy some flour, and we'll quickly make our own bread. Yeah, right? And so I go out into this town square of this little fishing village in the middle of nowhere, right? And I see from across the town square a black and white guy, like a Jew, in white shirt and black pants and a black yarmulke and a beard. And I'm like, what? So I got to go talk to this guy, right? I wasn't planning anything about. I just was like, there's a religious Jew here in this little fishing village. I got to go talk to him. So I go and start talking to him, and I ask him where he's from. He's from New York, and he's here on his he was honeymoon or something, or he was I don't remember exactly what the story was. He's there, and so we're schmoozing. I'm just planning to schmooze with the guy, and then I'm like, yeah, it's a funny place. So whatever, I have to go because I have to go find some flour or some bread or something because we don't have challah. And he's like, oh, are you serious? He's like, because we brought with us a whole bunch of food, and we have all this extra stuff. I have like 4 extra challahs. Why don't you take them? And he gave them to me. Huge hashgacha pratis, right? Unbelievable. It doesn't make any sense. And Hashem gave us challahs on that day. Okay, great story, right? This is a hashgacha pratis story. So, and we like to tell them because it reminds us that Hashem runs the world, and it gives us inspiration and chizuk a little bit, right? But we also have to be careful because we can get in our heads that I only want to be connected to Hashem if I get to see this. If I get to see this revealed hashgacha pratis in the world. I need to know what Hashem's doing, right? Like you said, I want to understand first and then do. I want to see what's going on. I only want to be connected to Hashem when it's like mind-blowing and when it's super exciting and you see all the things fall into place, right? That's it. So it's a little bit dangerous to live like this. And that's the hashgacha pratis of the future. That's always looking to see, like looking for a fortune teller. Lavdil. Mashen came. What we're saying over here, this is a good statement, I think. Hashgacha pratis is right now. What's going to be? Where's Hashem going to put me? He put you already. You're there today, right now, right here in front of me. This is what the Tam does. And he does what he's supposed to do. And every penny that comes into his hand, he says, thank you, Hashem. That's meant for me. Right? I'm here because I'm meant to be here. I'm with this person because I'm meant to be with this person. And everything is just one big flow of connection to Hashem, Ratzon Hashem, hashgacha pratis, and it's all unfolding in front of his eyes. Right? So I think maybe we're at 58 minutes now. Maybe we'll hold it here. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much, guys. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll see the Wednesday people on Wednesday. And love you guys. Bye-bye.